The literary theory lenses I've picked to discuss as pertaining to Coraline is posthumanism. I think that it perfectly fits Coraline in a different type of aspect. Most of the time, we probably wouldn't think of it as posthumanism, but after watching the video, I think that the fact that she's able to walk into a different world is easily an example of posthumanism. Not saying she's magical herself, but in a world where animals can talk and people with no eyes can see, it's kind of like, wow, they are of a different world, per se. She's I from the video, I guess you can kind of say she's a cyborg now. I'm not sure why the animals could talk or really what type of magic the actual door in the hallway had, but it did have some type of effect on her realm in a different realm. She's no longer functioning as a pure human, which is the main topic of posthumanism, as in a human who's no longer acting under natural abilities. Um, Talking animals, the stone, walking through the door, all of it, in a way, has to do with her being no longer a pure human. Um, how might this change your perspective on the novel? In many ways, I think that this can change many parents' perspective on the novel simply because posthumanism is in a way kind of touchy topic for people who are very religious. I know a lot of parents who don't let their children watch Harry Potter because they think that it's witchcraft, and a lot of people don't celebrate Halloween for the same reasons. And not to say that Coraline is witchcraft, but some people may interpret it in a way as a lower ranking type of witchcraft due to the fact that Coraline is no longer human, with animals talking and humans having button eyes and the world around her just not functioning as if it were a real world. And that may alert a lot of parents into thinking that this is not a very religious text that they may not want to expose their kids to, which would, of course, be discretionary and a very touchy topic for some, when you could sit back and look at the book and just be like, oh, it's a children's book about magic, when someone on a more thinking of it from a different perspective would be like, hey, this is witchcraft. I can't let my child read this until they're old enough to understand that this is not real. And some parents may not even think of it as witchcraft, but may not want their kid to be so vulnerable after being exposed to posthumanism, because they don't want their child to assume, yeah, let me walk through this door and my world is going to change, because in all actuality, stuff like that is not real. And they might want to hold a real line, like make a real definite line between what's real and what's not real. But something like posthumanism can definitely confuse a child or alter what they may think, and for a young mind may really influence them into thinking something is real and when it's really not. Overall, I think that posthumanism is a pretty good theory as far as it pertaining to Coraline. As we saw in The Wizard of Oz, the example was Dorothy and her red shoes. For Coraline would be Coraline in the door. She was able to walk through the door into a different realm that was like her own, but in many ways not her own, if that makes sense. She was a cyborg, as in the kid putting the glasses on and being able to see the world in a different lens, which is almost exactly the same. Coraline was able to walk through a door and see her own world through a different lens, without the help of glasses. It was just she saw it with her own eyes, and this, in many ways, showed her to be more. She was able to use more than her normal capabilities in the other world.